Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I think at the very beginning, I had this idea of a black farming family that I
Mm,
wanted to tell, and so I pitched it to a friend of mine, Laura Campbell, who is an on the ground producer, and at first I thought we were going to do this
mm,
small film. Just like on a, we'll go find a farm and we'll just shoot it. It'll be this little independent, $10 feature.
mm,
And then, the story started to really grow. Glenn and we kept working on this script, and I realized that it was much more than it had started in. So we needed to find a producer that had some heft that could bring some independent money to the table. So we found Jennifer Holness, who's a legacy producer in Canada, brings a lot of
mm,
black stories to screen. And then it just kind of kept growing from there. The pandemic greatly informed. It really made the stakes of the script uh, extremely real. When all of us, collectively in North America were like, we couldn't get fresh fruit and food from grocery stores because they were running out. It
mm,
really made these questions that were in the script. Can I provide for my family? Do I have the skills to actually provide and sustain my family? Became
mm,
super real. And um, and then and then, again, it became sort of, there was a cultural conversation that started to get in there as I started to do research because I'm like, they can't use chemicals to ward off, insects in their crops. So then I started looking into indigenous practices because I knew that Galen was going to be a part of this family, and I started doing research on that. So a lot of cultural practices worked their way into the script. The importance of those practices and became vital, and so that it wove its way into this family, not only surviving because they have military skill, but the preservation of their identities became very important. And so, making sure that Hailey, made them read books and understand their history and
mm.
the importance of art, to help center their identities was important. So a lot of that stuff kind of came through those stages of development.
What knowledge? What conversation did we have? I don't know if we talked about the
Oh,
physical
if we,
as
yeah, I
much.
don't know if we really talked about that.
We more so talked about the mother-son dynamic and the building of the family and the cultural and the identity-based information. The physical is just me wanting to be one who bludgeons evildoers and cannibals. That's not hard. Let's just remember, fuck them up, right? But we had a brilliant stunt team
Mm,
that was incessantly trying to adjust to the parameters of indoor or outdoor fighting dynamics because as an independent film going with moving with the punches and like weather and all of these different kind of things impacted where these scenes took place. And just it's really just rooting myself in my history of dance and choreographic movement capacities, right?
mm.
And leaning in on that and staying agile and maintaining one's own training in order to perform these tasks. So
Is that for me or
both
for?
of us.
Both of you guys.
Look, I think, I mean, to me, well, first of all, I live in Canada, so we don't have.
You said it's no problem, Daniel.
That's a call
But
back.
but but I think, look, I think I think Hailey Freeman in the film has no qualms about arming herself. I mean, they have a
I'm
whole
from Georgia. What do
yeah.
you think?
I think, you know, it's look, when the shit hits the fan, you better be armed up, you know. So
Yeah.
they got a bunker, they got all the weapons, and they're scavengers. So, you know, people don't leave, but their weapons stay, you know.
Okay.
I mean, I just as someone who moves through rural spaces a lot outside of the urban landscape. My family's from Atlanta, but my I live in Atlanta rather, but my family's from outside of Atlanta. And so, you know, in thinking about Black folks with weaponry, it is a survival need. It's not necessarily a retaliatory need, right? In that it's purely that, right? Hunting is a part of, you know, Southern agrarian life, rural life. That is, it just as critical as it is to arm oneself for defense and the American understanding, right? And so I think that's critical. Chicken nuggets don't just come from chicken. I mean, don't chicken nuggets don't just come from the freezer. They come from a practice in having to, you know, slow, gently kill or whatnot. Or beef isn't, the patty don't come out as a patty. So I think learning how to do those things is necessary. Learning how to plant, to grow vegetation, fruits is necessary, and guns just happen to be.
Again, yeah, but I mean, what can I say about that? Yeah, I mean, you know, I wanted to speak about this relationship that I had with my mother, and really, really kind of take that universal, you know, story that happens in every family where, you know, the older generation has a way of life and a way of thinking, and then the younger generation kind of wants some freedom from that, whatever that may be. So I wanted to tell that particular story, take that and project it into, you know, a world that has incredibly high stakes. And I knew that we needed, you know, an actor that had a level of maturity, a physical stature that you could believe that he could do the things that he's being told to do, that he could feel at home on the farm, but also that had an innocence to him in a way. You know, Manny is very sheltered in existence on this farm. Uh, and so Kataem brought a really you know, sort of a naivete to know what I mean? And then he had to go toe to toe with Miss Danielle, you know what I'm saying? And he's the first to tell you, you know, he said as soon as he got on set, he was immediately intimidated and he saw his mother in every scene.
What?
That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what he said.
Oh my God! I'm gonna beat him up when I see him.
That's not the answer you want to give when you talk about intimidation.
Yeah, that's so funny. I had no idea. I think that we were super playful. For me, like that enables me to build a relationship dynamic. I mean, actors tend to be really autonomous and really private, and I think a lot of things are sacred when building character and doing character work in a certain kind of way. And considering we're on two kind of separate journeys, his being one that's trying to find himself in a solo capacity. He already had been doing whatever he wanted to do because remember, he had been clipping the fence and made the hole. And so when I think about that, oh, there is a secretiveness to him anyway. There is a clandestine, you know, path that he's taking. And so we are living in disparate kind of worlds, even though we're together. And so I think it was critical just to allow us to to build our own paths, but when we came together, it was super playful. It was super loving, the way it was with everybody in making the family dynamic come to life. But the tension of trying to be, I wasn't trying to be overly didactic as Danielle, but Hailey assuredly is incessantly teaching, incessantly, like rigorously instructing, because survival is key. Survival is everything.
Well, I wanted to talk more, but they told me to wrap it up. Thank you so much for your time. I had a good time talking to you, Danielle and T.
Thank you,
so much for your
Noble.
time.
Thank you. Thank you, Noble.
Have a good day. Bye bye.